every day here on Sibos TV, we'll be picking the brains of leading financial journalists for their take on what's been said in the Sibos sessions so far across this packed schedule.
All of it is must-see content, of course. But what from the sessions we saw through day one of the event has caught the eye of our experts? Well, today those experts are Paige McNamee, reporter at Finextra, and we're joined once again by Chris Hall, editor of ESG Investor and writer for Sibos Issues. A very warm welcome to the both of you.
Yeah, and let's start first with you, Chris, because look, you listened in on Mick Ebeling. He is the CEO of Not Impossible Labs, and he was involved in the opening Innotribe message. So what did you make of his contents? And more importantly, what do you think the lessons are for Sibos?
Well, it was a great start to Innotribe. Innotribe obviously always tries to take a really kind of refreshing and alternative view. Last year, I'm sure you remember, they had Professor Brian Cox when the event was in London, and Mike actually took us all to his hometown of Venice Beach in California, and that's really made sense because that's where he kind of founded Not Impossible Labs, and he just really told everyone about the history of his company, the way that he put together an unusual band of technologists and entrepreneurs to create some technology that has really changed lives in both in the States, but globally, particularly in the kind of war zone between Sudan and South Sudan. And his message really was about really you can use technology to really kind of change lives. And he uses a term of kind of beautiful naivety in terms of they didn't know what they couldn't do, and that kind of helped them to actually kind of create something that one might have been considered impossible, particularly in terms of effective prosthetic limbs that could be used and created through a digital printer, through 3D printer rather, for basically around $100 a go. So his message very much was kind of get out there, use technology in society for good, and that's also good for your company as well.
Let's turn to Paige now. Now, a broad range of topics were addressed on the panel session for central bank digital currencies yesterday, not least of which have been exactly how to define CBDCs. The topic of identity was also a key area addressed, of course, during the panel. But what for you were the takeaways?
That's right. It was a very robust panel on CBDCs yesterday that started out as quite a technical debate and really evolved into a higher level dialogue into the bigger picture issues that such technology can truly have, not just on financial services, but across society. The idea that the very nature of a CBDC environment may make anonymity impossible prompted Alistair Milne to mention that while this is a real opportunity for central banks, it definitely goes beyond their natural remit. He said that having a consistent and effective system for citizen identity would be a real goal. But he caveated this also by noting that central banks really can't do this on their own. They need to be working with governments. Arwen Smith of Mintbit also drove home the need and importance of organisations to think before they act, warning that if the innovation that's being proposed is indeed successful, it means that money can and will carry a data footprint. This would inevitably lead to implications for government surveillance, commercial use of data, and could very likely mean we begin to see different countries push specific value systems through digital or programmable forms of money. She underscored that money is and always has been a political tool, and once countries begin to promote or encourage the holding of their products and integrate the behaviours of citizens into these value systems, then you begin to enter an environment where money itself is the exporter of value systems. And so while the opportunity and potential for CBDCs is immense, there are truly fundamental, complex issues tied to how we value privacy and anonymity and identity, which should really be addressed prior to diving deep into the opportunities that digital currencies present.
OK, let's move from the CBDCs to the view from the top session, which had Rajnish Kumar. Now, he's the CEO of State Bank of India. And Chris, I know that you watched that session as well. So how does he see banks and indeed customers in India adapting to the challenges arising from the pandemic?
Well, it was an interesting session. SBI is obviously it's the largest bank in India and largely kind of state-owned, and it's been very active on the kind of digital front already. So he was very kind of well positioned to kind of comment on where India's going from a kind of digital banking perspective, and he came with some really interesting kind of stats saying that currently only 7 out of 100 transactions are taking place at SBI branches, as opposed to maybe 20 out of 100 3 years ago. And also, ATM transactions are down. They used to be kind of 55 out of every 100. Now they're kind of 20, and that's really because they're using the mobile phones. Mobile banking obviously is especially big in India, but also other forms of digital banking, and he really kind of was kind of suggesting that he feels that kind of change is permanent, and he's looking ahead to greater use of AI as well.
And from India to Africa, Paige, I believe you also tuned into a view from the top yesterday. What were the underlying concerns that Ayeyemi, Group CEO of West African Ecobank, mentioning regarding the impact of COVID-19 on banking across Africa?
Yeah, so Ade really emphasised the need for institutions across the African continent to focus on communication and collaboration, and to continue pushing to work together with governments and with regulators. Ade said that nothing is preordained for banking in Africa in the face of and in the wake of COVID-19. He said it must be the responsibility of banks and governments to ensure that confidence in the banking system is maintained. Otherwise, crisis may become an inevitable thing. Where there is no communication between these industry players, he warned, these problems in consumer confidence will only be compounded. Financial inclusion is a core focus for us at Finextra, and Ade spoke to the significant progress being made across the continent to date. He believes there are enough endpoints and computing technologies available today to ensure that progress continues effectively. And finally, while underscoring the challenges of the African continent across language and across cultures, he importantly noted the challenge of offering first world services across third world infrastructure, and insisted that working together toward united goals is absolutely crucial toward making meaningful progress.
OK, well, we're going to have to leave it there, but Paige McNamee and Chris Hall, thank you so much for sharing your insights on Sibos, day 2 of the event so far.